Haunted spirits reveal sinister secrets, 6 real-life, terrifying tales from Embalmers exposed. The funeral home stood alone, a sentinel of sorrow in the economically crumbling town of Millstone. Inside, the air was thick with secrets and whispers, tales of the dead circling like vultures. As Sarah clocked in for another night, fluorescent lights flickered, casting shadows that seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally. The rustling murmurs among embalmers carried an ominous gravity. If you listen closely, one joked, the spirits reveal the deepest, darkest family secrets. Laughter hung in the stiff air, but Sarah's heart churned uneasily. Being a single mother meant juggling the grim with the mundane. She scoffed at ghost stories, believing them to be folklore, benign and easily dismissed. But as she prepped the embalming table, turbulence brewed within her, mirroring the decaying town. The walls absorbed every sound, every feeling a reflection of lives lost and left behind. And then it began. A fleeting echo of a child's laughter, where no child existed. Silver shadows flickering just out of sight. Cold sweat creeped down Sarah's spine. She shook her head, her rational mind refusing to entertain the thought that the whispers she had dismissed might hold a grim truth. She had Lily to protect, not just from the world but from the terrifying grip of her own imagination. One particularly tense night, while tending to a departed neighbor, she caught a glimpse of something in the glassy surface of embalming fluid. An outline, a ghostly figure whose eyes screamed of betrayal. Sarah's hands trembled as she refocused, her heart racing. Yet the face was gone, evaporated like morning fog. Just an illusion, she told herself, but doubt gnawed at her, amplifying her anxiety. What if these spirits were trying to tell her something? What if they were trapped, tethered to their unsolved mysteries? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But the climax of her nightmare was yet to come. One stormy evening, Lily, wide-eyed after hearing local legends at school, vanished into the night. Panic gripped Sarah as she rushed through the dilapidated streets, torn between calling the police, who might be corrupt in a town riddled with conspiracies, and succumbing to the whispers of lost souls she once thought ridiculous. The night seemed to close in around her, the stagnant air thick with anxiety and dread as rain poured down, painting the asphalt a glistening black. Her heart thundered in her ears. Then she saw it, a fleeting figure in the distance, beckoning. Shadows twisted, wrapping around her like dark tendrils. Was that a child? Lily! She screamed, but the wind swallowed her voice. Towards the cemetery she ran, unwilling to turn back. The air grew colder, the stones looming like sentinels, each holding secrets long buried. Her instincts screamed at her to stop, to flee. But Sarah knew she had one horrifying choice: confront the darkness or lose her daughter forever. The cemetery beckoned her, filled with whispers, ready to reveal the unforgiving truths buried beneath. The cemetery stood quiet, but its silence hummed with energy. Trees swayed violently as if warning Sarah to turn back, but she pressed forward. "Lily!" she shouted again, desperation flooding her voice. The wind carried her call into the shadows, mocking her with its indifference as she sprinted down the path lined with weathered gravestones. The darkness felt alive, pulsating around her. Each footfall echoed, a morbid rhythm that set her teeth on edge. The air was electric, charged with the ghosts of sorrow and despair. She could almost hear their whispers, speaking in fragmented tongues. The very earth beneath her felt like it yearned to consume her, to swallow her whole. Suddenly, a small figure darted between the gravestones. Her heart soared, hope igniting within her like a flame. "Lily!" She rushed forward, nearly losing her footing in the mud. The figure, draped in white, turned sharply. It wasn't Lily. It was a child, a girl with hollow eyes and a gaping void where a mouth should be. Her skin appeared to flicker in and out of existence. "Help us," the girl rasped, her voice wispy as if drawn from far away. Sarah stumbled back, her breath hitching. She could hear the girl's cry, but it was mingled with a chorus of tortured souls surrounding her. "Who are you?" she managed to whisper, her heart pounding in her chest. The girl extended a skeletal hand, beckoning Sarah closer. No, Sarah shook her head violently, pulling away from the apparition. "Where's my daughter?" The girl opened her mouth wide, the void gaping wider, echoing the cries of the cemetery. Shadows pressed in closer, tightening around Sarah, wrapping her in a chilling embrace. She was breathing hard, the cold biting at her skin. Her body screamed to run, but all she could do was stand there as fear penetrated every bone. Then she felt it, a tug at her sleeve. She whirled around and there was Lily, eyes wide, terrified. "Mommy! Thank God!" Relief washed over Sarah like a warm wave, but it was short-lived. The girl was still there, eyes flickering between life and death, looking at Lily with an unbearable longing. "We can't stay," Lily whimpered, glancing backward into the shadowy distance. "Stay? Why would we stay?" Sarah's voice trembled. "Because," Lily pointed to the girl. "She needs us." Panic gripped Sarah again. "What do you mean?" "We're leaving." She ushered Lily to turn around, to run, but Lily stopped, her small body anchored in place. "No, Mommy." The shadows grew thicker, swirling around them like a dark storm. The girl's mouth wouldn't close. The horrid cries emanating from her mouth swelled into a cacophony of anguish. "Help, help us!" Sarah's heart raced as she watched Lily stand her ground. The cemetery shifted, graves cracking open, the foundations of sorrow rising. "Lily, please," Sarah pleaded. But then Sarah noticed the faint shimmer around the girl. A light flickered dimly, as if memories were desperately trying to surface. The spirits began to coalesce, seemingly drawn to the innocence of her daughter. Sarah's instincts screamed for escape, but concern for Lily rooted her to the spot. They were trapped amidst restless souls, woven into the tangled web of sorrow. Amid the shadows, Sarah faced an agonizing choice: save her child or become part of the haunting chorus of those forever lost. Lily's grip tightened on her mother's arm, pulling in opposite directions. The whispers crescendoed, drowning reason in chaos. The truth lingered just out of reach. But one thing was certain: she couldn't stay here. Before they could act, a thunderous sound echoed from the depths of the graveyard. An unearthly tremor shook the earth, and a crack began to form beneath their feet, widening like a gaping maw ready to swallow them whole. "Mom!" Lily screamed as the ground shifted violently. The sickening realization crashed into Sarah. The dead were rising around them, and time was slipping through her fingers like the very soil they stood upon. The ground opened wide, ready to consume them both. What would Sarah choose to do in this final, terrible moment? Would she save her child and forfeit herself to the shadows? As she grasped Lily's hand tightly, the darkness surged forward, and the whispers reached a deafening roar. "Mommy, don't let them take us." Just as the dark tide rose, Sarah closed her eyes, praying for clarity, but all she heard was laughter, the laughter of lost spirits, echoing of secrets that begged to be revealed. The ground opened wide, and an icy grip clutched at Sarah's heart. The laughter echoed, mocking her hopelessness. She felt the earth pull, and panic surged through her veins. "No," she thought, "I can't lose her." "Lily," she cried, squeezing her daughter's hand tighter. But the little girl remained rooted to the spot, eyes locked on the girl in white. "We have to go. Now," Sarah shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. But Lily was transfixed, her expression unreadable. "Mommy, wait," she gasped. It was as if the spectral girl had ensnared her senses, drawing in every ounce of her innocence. A gust of wind howled through the gravestones, carrying with it the voices of the dead, whispering secrets that clawed at Sarah's mind. The gaping crack pulsated beneath them, as if alive, yearning to devour everything in its path. She turned back to the girl, whose hollow eyes glimmered with unshed tears, An unmistakable longing etched on her face. "You don't have to fear," the girl begged, her voice now filled with a strange resonance. "Fear what?" Sarah snapped, glancing back at Lily, who seemed to sway as if caught in a trance. "What do you want?" "Help us," the girl's voice stretched out, echoing around them like a warning bell. "Release us," the shadows pulsed, and Sarah thought she could see fleeting images swirling within, faces contorted in anguish. The graveyard suddenly seemed alive, the gravestones vibrating as if each one had a story to tell, a story of pain, of loss, of lives interrupted. "No!" Sarah yelled, pushing against the overwhelming urge to succumb to the darkness. "You are not taking my daughter." Just as Sarah began to pull Lily away, the air shifted again. An explosion of coldness washed over her. Felt like knives slicing into her skin. The spirits surged, a torrent of wailing souls pouring through the crack, their sorrow palpable. Gritting her teeth, Sarah yanked at Lily, but her daughter didn't budge. "Mommy, I have to help her." "What?" The words slipped out, incredulous. "You want to help? Oh, what is she?" "Mommy, she's trapped." Lily's voice quivered, and in that moment, Sarah felt the weight of despair settle on her shoulders like a thief in the night, stealing away the light. The girl lifted her finger, pointing toward the ground, an ancient stone that seemed to pulse with a dark energy. A sinister whisper drifted through the air. "Release her and you will know what?" Fear gripped Sarah again, an icy vice around her heart as more gravestones began to shake. The earth vibrated with urgency. "Know the truth," the chorus echoed, the shadows swirling faster. Sarah's breath quickened. What truth? What terrible, dark truth had awaited here all along? And then she heard it, a small voice, faint but clear. "Mommy, I'm scared." The reality crashed around her. Sarah had to get Lily out. But the promise of revelation coiled around her like fog, and curiosity began to gnaw at her resolve. "Please help us," the girl whispered, her void of a mouth stretching wide, revealing flickering images of past victims' faces alike, all silhouetted against the darkness, lost and longing. The ground trembled one last time, and with it, Sarah felt the weight of the dead pulling at her, the overwhelming cry of the grave echoing through her mind. Lily's grip shivered. "Mommy, please." In that moment, Sarah stood at the brink of precipice between salvation and the depths of despair. If she helped the girl, what would happen to them? Could the truth be worth the risk? Just as she hesitated, the shadows surged forward, hungry and chaotic. The crack widened further, an abyss begging them to plunge into its depths. The weight of the unknown hung heavy in the air, and in a heartbeat, Sarah realized she may have to make an impossible choice. As the cacophony of anguished spirits grew louder, she felt the ground tremble beneath her once more. "Lily, we have to go." But before she could pull her daughter away, the girl's voice rang out again, crystal clear. "You must decide now." The whispers reached a fever pitch, surrounding her like a storm. Would Sarah sacrifice everything for a truth she may never understand? Suddenly, before she could think, a flash of light erupted from the stone, momentarily blinding her. In that instant, Sarah saw a glimpse of the past. Images flickered, bloody and horrific characters connected to the graveyard, their stories intertwining with hers. The ground rumbled as if it, too, were grasping at the revelation. "What have you done?" the girl shrieked, her voice merging with the darkness, as everything began to collapse around them. With hearts racing and fate hanging in the balance, Sarah and Lily faced an unfathomable decision. The shadows closing in fast, what truth lay hidden beneath the whispers? And would they escape before the darkness consumed them both? The blinding light faded as quickly as it came, leaving Sarah and Lily enveloped in a thick, smothering darkness. Tremors shook the earth beneath them, rumbling like a warning bell, as if the very ground craved their submission. The girl in white stood there, her features momentarily illuminated, a ghastly reminder of the girl she had once been. Her eyes bore a depth of sorrow that resonated with the heaviness in Sarah's heart. "Mommy," Lily's voice quivered, strained and fragile. She looked up at Sarah, a flickering hope in her wide eyes. "What do we do?" The spectral girl stepped closer, her presence unsettling. You must choose, she whispered, her voice now a low hiss that danced with the rush of cold air. What will you sacrifice for the truth? No, Sarah shouted, lashing out against the palpable dread binding them. She stepped back, pulling Lily closer, as if to shield her from what lurked in the shadows. We're leaving, Lily. We're not doing this. But the shadows shifted, swirling closer, and Sarah felt the grip of unseen hands tightening around her throat. Help us! The chorus of voices erupted into a cacophony of anguish, echoing in her mind, the words mingling with the moan of the wind. She felt pressure, crushing and suffocating, and the ground seemed to vibrate with the weight of their despair. Suddenly, the stone at their feet pulsed violently, emitting a low hum that resonated as if alive in a way that brought a chill to Sarah's bones. A sense of inevitability wrapped around her. What do you want? She demanded. What have you done to my daughter? The girl in white stretched out her hand, and the shadows coalesced into terrifying glimpses, faces contorted in pain, eyes wide and pleading, memories trapped in the space between this world and the next. She felt her stomach tighten, her heart racing. They lied, the girl murmured, her voice tinged with sadness. They kept us here trapped. You can set us free, but at a cost. A rush of panic surged through Sarah. No, I want Mommy. We have to help them. Lily shouted, the innocence in her voice now tainted with urgency and fear. Lily, stop. Sarah felt her heart pounding, every instinct screaming to pull her daughter away from this nightmare. Yet, as she looked into her daughter's eyes, she saw the reflections of the lost souls, aching for salvation, and it froze her in place. We can't decide. The girl cried out, her voice rising like an anguished scream, silencing the storm of whispers for an instant as the shadows hovered expectantly. The ground shuddered, the crack widening into a gaping maw, dark and endless. Images flickered in Sarah's mind, fragments of lives lost, loved ones mourning, all pointing toward one terrifying truth. The truth that had beckoned her since they arrived. She felt herself teetering on the edge of a decision she knew could plunge her into an abyss of despair. Every instinct told her to flee, yet a twisted part of her was drawn to the promise, the revelation that could shatter everything she knew. The darkness wrapped around her tantalizingly. What if freeing them meant something more? Something crucial? Mommy, please, Lily begged, her voice cracking. Sarah turned sharply, her daughter's eyes wide and terrified, heart-wrenchingly pleading for understanding. Just as uncertainty swelled to unbearable heights, a violently cold wind erupted, tearing at her clothes and pulling her toward the abyss. The shadows danced with malevolence, their shackles longing to bind her and Lily into their torment. Help us, they screamed, a chorus of broken hearts clamoring for release, and Sarah felt herself caught torn between madness and clarity. With a sudden twist of courage, she shouted, I refuse to let you take her. The shadows shrieked as if in pain, recoiling from her defiance. But the stone beneath them glimmered ominously, vibrating with power, promising answers and horrors intertwined. Your choice will echo through eternity. The girl in white cried, the world beginning to collapse around them. The shadows lunged forward with a ferocity that matched Sarah's pulse, and in that moment of desperation, she whispered, no, but her voice barely escaped into the maelstrom of chaos. Then, an ear-splitting crack split the air as the darkness erupted in a frenzy, and in one horrified moment, Sarah knew there was no escaping what lay ahead. Despair flooded back, and just before she was swallowed by the darkness, a chilling question echoed in her mind: what if the truth was far worse than destruction? A harrowing decision was converging, and the truth was about to unfold. Would it bring salvation or doom? The ground trembled violently, and darkness roared around them, engulfing Sarah and Lily as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. Sarah's heart raced far beyond the limits of reason, echoing the cries of the tortured souls that clawed at her consciousness. The shadows closed in tighter, and she felt the icy breath of despair tickling her neck, whispering venomous promises of the horrors still to come. Mommy! Lily's small hand squeezed her own, warmth against the cold terror that surrounded them. But as much as Sarah wanted to reassure her, She felt the burning weight of guilt pressing into her chest. What if I can't protect her? The question slashed through her thoughts like a knife. The spectral girl lunged forward, her expression twisting with anguish. Choose now. Time is running out. The desperation in her voice pierced Sarah's heart, forcing her to confront the uncanny truth. This wasn't just about the girl in white or the troubled souls. It was about the suffocating shackles tightening around her own soul. In that moment, the shadows wove tendrils of despair around Sarah's knees, yanking her further into the abyss. No, I won't sacrifice my child for you. Her voice broke, grounded in a protective instinct that battled against the rising dread. You deceive yourself, Sarah. The girl hissed, the shadows writhing at her feet, thrumming with dark energy. You can save her or doom her to this nightmare forever. Choose. Her heart raced, caught in a tumultuous storm of fear and doubt. Every instinct urged her to flee, yet the whispers swirled tantalizingly close. What if the truth was the key to saving them both? Suddenly, a throbbing light erupted from the stone beneath them, illuminating the dark with a blinding pulse. Spiny shadows recoiled from its brilliance, and Sarah grasped Lily's hand tightly. Stay close to me, she ordered, determination lacing her words as she stepped forward. If there's a way out of this, but the spectral girl's laughter pierced the air, shrill and taunting. You think you can escape? This is not a game of hide and seek. The darkness shivered, flickering like a fault line of horror. The truth binds all no matter how hard you run. Sarah swallowed hard, unwilling to show weakness in front of Lily. The cold wind screeched around them, rushing with furious threats as if the shadows themselves might tear her apart. But her eyes remained locked onto Lily's terrified face. What do I need to know? She shouted defiantly. You must understand that part of you already makes this choice. The girl insisted, her form blurring like smoke. The flickering shadows spun faster, whispering secrets and memories, hidden truths buried deep alongside unending sorrow. Lily tugged on her sleeve, confusion thick in the air. Mommy, what do they mean? I don't know, sweetheart. I won't harm you. But her voice faltered, uncertainty creeping in. The light pulsed behind them, a beacon of warmth and anger mingling, revealing snippets of moments lost to Sarah's memory. Faces, shrouded in anguish, reflecting choices long ignored. Step back, Sarah shouted as the shadows lunged forward, intent on consuming all that was light and human. She felt the pull toward the ground, a terrible gravity trying to pull her into its depths. The voices intensified, more frantic now, twisting with grief that resonated within her very bones. Then silence. An unbearable quiet wrapped around them, holding their breath suspended in fear. Sarah's heart thudded painfully in the stillness, and an icy realization slowly seeped in, flooding her with dread. Some must be sacrificed to uncover the truth. Staring into the depth of the abyss before her, a whispered thought curled around her. If I learn the truth, will it save us or doom us to this wretched fate? Just as Sarah opened her mouth to speak, the earth lurched violently beneath them, shaking the fragile fabric of their reality. Shadows swirled with newfound ferocity, snapping like hungry jaws, echoing a sinister truth woven into the very ground they stood on. What is happening? Lily whimpered, the terror in her voice grounding Sarah back to reality. Mommy will protect you. But as the shadows loomed, closing in with a breathless hunger, Sarah felt the darkness beckon her with sinister promises. Would revealing the truth free them or grip her in an eternal nightmare? The echoes of lost souls whispered louder, drowning out her thoughts. The uncertainty hung thick in the air, and in an instant, Sarah was no longer sure of her resolve. But what choice would she have to make next? The horror pressed in closer, eager for its offering. The ground beneath them shook violently, crumbling like aged plaster. Sarah held Lily's small hand with white-knuckled strength, heart racing as if trying to outrun the impending doom that swirled around them. Stay close, she urged, desperate to keep her daughter anchored to safety. Even as the shadows loomed like monstrous figures ready to swallow them whole, the spectral girl's voice echoed again, laced with a twisted urgency. The truth is a path through the darkness. Choose wisely, or be forever lost. Her translucent fingers curled in a gesture too familiar, as if beckoning Sarah toward something irretrievable. No! Sarah shouted, sharp and piercing, as the shadows pressed in like a dense fog, suffocating in their intent. She felt the earth undulating beneath her, a terrible heartbeat emanating from the depths of the abyss. The weight of decisions lost in time clawed at her consciousness. How could a mother choose the fate of her child when the options twisted like a nightmare? Lily's breath quickened, tiny gasps filling the void. Mommy, what does she want from us? Her wide eyes shone with fear, absorbing every frigid whisper of despair that swept through the air. I don't know. Panic fluttered at the edges of Sarah's mind, pulse racing wildly. But she felt something clicking into place. Could it be the memories? The truths that were swirling, half-formed around them like fading echoes? She had to dig deeper. What is the choice? The girl flickered, her form brightening, revealing the shimmering outline of a face that was both beautiful and haunting. You must surrender your past to break free. To save her, you cannot fail to confront the horror you've buried. The shadows writhed eagerly, as if tasting the fear that thrummed in the air. Dark memories unfurled, clawing at Sarah's mind. The laughter of childhood, the echoes of lost friendships, momentary joys laced with regrets buried in blackened corners. Was it her own buried secrets that bound them here? No! Sarah lunged back, pulling Lily with her. I won't lose anything more. I refused to give in. But the truth rippled, reaching for her. The shadows shrieked in response, a cacophony rising in pressure until it filled her ears. She felt herself trembling, lost between the faint glimmer of hope and the choking darkness that seemed to vibrate violently beneath her feet. Suddenly, the very ground cracked open in a violent roar, as if angered by her defiance. Lava-like shadows streamed forth, hungry tendrils seeking to seize them. Sarah's blood ran cold. Fear coursed through her like poison. Mommy! Lily clung to her leg, wide-eyed as crumbling earth fell away under their feet. All that remained was a gaping maw of solitude. I won't let it take you, Sarah screamed, fighting off the pull of the darkness. But within, a seed of doubt planted. Did being strong mean truly confronting her secrets, or could that very revelation be their end? With an anguished scream, the spectral girl twisted desperately in place, the shadows shifting dangerously, reacting to Sarah's internal struggle. Embrace it, or watch your child suffer. Time seemed to slow as Sarah's resolve wavered, the world around her narrowing into a vortex of terror, mirror images of her past playing out before her like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Which truth would she face? What secret could shatter their fates? Just as she felt herself slipping into that darkness, the choice all yours, the surrounding shadows exploded with despair, ripping the air from their lungs. Sarah! No! Lily's voice rang faintly above the roar, and as Sarah turned to answer, the ground buckled beneath her. What awaited her below? Would she find her own past lurking in the depths? Or would she lose her daughter to the same shadows seeking to claim her? The abyss gaped wide, ready to swallow answers and flesh alike. The darkness swallowed her whole, and for a moment, Sarah felt weightless. It was as if she floated above a churning sea of memories and despair. Everything around her faded, replaced by a relentless void that hummed with a sinister energy. She could feel it pulling at her, grasping, trying to claim her as one of its own. Mommy! Help me! Lily's voice sliced through the overwhelming silence like a thin blade. It snapped Sarah back, and panic surged through her like ice water. She felt the sensation of falling turn into a brutal jolt as her feet landed back upon the quaking ground of their nightmare. The shadows writhed, a black ocean crashing against the shores of her mind. The spectral girl's voice echoed once more, her tone urgent, intense. You cannot save her without facing what you've hidden. You are running from yourself. What does that even mean? Sarah screamed into the void, her chest tightening with each breath. The shadows seemed to pulse in response, a living entity that feasted on her fear. She could see glimpses of her life flashing among the dark shapes, faces from her past, regrets bubbling to the surface like rotting fish. With each flicker those memories became vivid. Friends she betrayed, a family torn apart, screams and tears she thought she had silenced. The ground shook more violently now, echoing her spiraling thoughts, mocking her every attempt to maintain control. Lily. She turned, searching desperately for her daughter amidst the chaos. The little girl stood close by, her small form nearly engulfed by shadows that coiled around her, as if trying to draw her into the depths. "Mommy, I'm scared." Sarah's heart shattered. "I know, baby. Just hold on. Don't let go of my hand." But how to hold on when the world spun wildly, and the very ground they stood on threatened to collapse? A quick glance confirmed her worst fear. The fissure widened even more, churning and boiling like molten rock beneath them. "Embrace the truth," whispered the spectral girl, woven into the shadows that surrounded them. "You must confront what you've always feared to find salvation." "No, I want tea," Sarah yelled, the weight of defiance coursing through her veins. She dropped to her knees, pulling Lily closer. "We can fight this. We can." But with those words, a rush of memories surged forth, drowning her in a torrent of faces and voices. Her own mother's voice twisted into anguished cries, regrets flashing like lightning before her eyes. Why hadn't she reached out? Why hadn't she tried to make amends? What if this was all a punishment for her failures? The shadows entwined further, whispering secrets only she could decipher. Your fear binds you. Only in surrender can you find freedom. In that blinding moment of clarity, Sarah realized those shadows weren't just emptiness but fragments of her buried self, lost pieces yearning for acknowledgement. "Mommy." Lily's voice trembled. Sarah clenched her jaws, rage overpowering the terror gripping her heart. "I want tea. Let you take her." The shadows shrieked, as if enraged by her defiance, and tightened their hold. She grasped Lily's tiny hand tighter, her thoughts racing, pulse pounding. The memories pressed in, visceral echoes clawing for release. Would she truly find the strength to face them? Could she abandon the weight of her buried past? In that moment, decision sharpened like a knife. Sarah's voice erupted, infused with fervor. "Fine. I'll confront it. I'll face my truth." And as those words spilled out, the shadows howled in fury, splitting the air with an otherworldly shriek, as if they sensed the change in her resolve. The ground trembled, but now it felt alive, responding intensely to her fears. Suddenly, the darkness before her shattered like glass, revealing an endless, blinding light. It was dazzling, almost painful, and she could hear Lily's whimpering fade into echoes of forgotten laughter. But as the brightness enveloped them, the shadows clawed back, desperate to keep them from escape. "Together, Mommy. Don't leave me." Lily's plea merged with the furious roar of the shadows. Sarah felt the strength surge within her, the remnants of her truth flooding forth. And in that instant, she knew this was only the beginning. What awaited them on the other side? The brightness pulsed dangerously, shimmering with secrets yet to be uncovered. What would they find waiting in the light? The ghostly reflection of the past, or a path toward a reckoning she never anticipated? As the light engulfed them, she dared to hope, but fear lurked, eager to retake control. The blinding light enveloped them, mixing warmth with an unsettling chill that seeped deeper than the skin. Sarah squeezed Lily's hand tighter, the little girl's grip quivering as uncertainty tore through the momentary clarity. The air hummed with energy, a thick tension that weighed down on them. Suddenly, the light flickered, casting jagged shadows that danced around the edges like mocking specters. "Mommy, where are we?" Lily's voice trembled, cutting through the oppressive silence. I don't know, sweetheart," Sarah replied, her heart thrumming wildly in her chest. "But we have to keep going." They walked forward, every step echoing like thunder on a distant horizon. The brightness flickered again, this time revealing shapes in the distance. Glimpses of rooms from a life lost swung into view. A battered living room where laughter once echoed, a childless bedroom cluttered with toys, and kitchens where meals were shared. But the memories twisted, clouded by a sense of foreboding. Sarah could hear faint whispers, fragments of conversations lost to time. "You'll regret it," a voice hissed, chilling her to the bone. Shadows began curling around them, weaving through the scenes like smoke, tinged with the scent of ash and decay. "Please, Mommy, let us go back." Lily pulled at her hand, her eyes wide with fear. "No, we can't turn back now." Sarah's resolve stiffened, but doubt planted seeds of uncertainty. Was this truly a path to salvation? Or was it a trap, set by the darkness she fought so hard to escape? As they ventured deeper, Sarah's pulse quickened. The rooms morphed, grotesque figures emerging from the shadows, distorted and twisted. They were faces she recognized, fragments of her past. Friends she hurt, family members she abandoned. Each face wore an expression of betrayal, of pain. "You did this to us," they seemed to accuse, their voices mingling into a chilling symphony of grief. "No, this isn't right," Sarah shouted, refusing to back down. But deep inside, a gnawing fear took root. Could she escape the guilt that clung to her like a second skin? "Mommy!" Lily cried, tugging her closer, her own fear palpable. "I want to go home." They stumbled towards a doorway, an exit beckoning at the end of a long hall that warped like a funhouse mirror. Light spilled from it, golden and inviting, but the shadows danced closer, sharper now, whispering deceitful promises. "Stay with us," they cooed. "You'll never be alone, no." A ferocity radiated from Sarah. This was not how it would end. She would not be claimed by her past. Not now, not ever. With a roar that shattered the suffocating tendrils of darkness, Sarah pushed through the door. Cold air rushed over them, heavy, drenched in memories. Stumbling out, she clutched Lily tighter, her world spinning like a merry-go-round until it stopped. They stood in a dense fog, filled with silhouettes shifting in and out of focus. The weight of 1,000 stares bore down on them, all demanding to be seen, heard, acknowledged. Sarah, a voice broke through the haze, familiar yet haunting. It was her mother. "You can't escape us," panic clawed at Sarah's heart as she felt the ground shift beneath her. Shadows reeled back, coiling around her legs like serpents. She gasped, "Mom, please, turn back. Face your choices." Her mother's voice echoed with a blend of sorrow and urgency. Lily's grip slackened, and Sarah felt herself teetering on the edge not just of the darkness but of her own past. Was she strong enough to look back? To face the destruction she had wrought? As a figure emerged from the fog, a smile spreading across its face, the familiar contours shifted, twisting into something unrecognizable and sinister. The figures closed in, their voices merging in a cacophony of remorse. "Sarah, this is only the beginning." As darkness swirled violently around them, Sarah felt a cyclone of fear ignite within her, pushing her toward the one thing she dreaded most. A reckoning. What unspeakable truth lay ahead? Did she still hold the power to change her fate? Or was she destined to drown in a sea of regret? Thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, creeping through the fog, but there was no rain. Only a suffocating silence that pressed against them from all sides. Sarah's heart raced as she braced herself for what lay ahead. The figures from the fog grew clearer, their faces twisted with pain and longing, unbearably familiar. Each one held a story, a severed thread from Sarah's life, floating close enough to snatch at her heart. "Who are you?" Sarah shouted, her voice quaking. "What do you want? Don't you remember?" "Sarah?" One of the shadow faces replied, its voice dripping with accusation. "You left us behind." "No, I tried. I tried to save you." Tears streamed down her cheeks, but they were met with the coldness of the ethereal space, drawing warmth from her. Lily squeezed her hand, trembling. "Mommy, I don't like this place. It's scary." "I know, Lily. Stay close to me. I won't let anything happen to you." But there was a swell of fear rising inside Sarah, a gnawing sensation that maybe she didn't have control over this. Darkness twisted tighter around them, her choices unknowingly chaining her to an unfathomable past. A step forward seemed to lead them deeper into a maw of torment. Visions distorted as the fog swirled, revealing things she buried. The face of her father, bloodied and despairing, loomed next. You can't run from what you've done, Sarah, he intoned, his voice echoing, filling her with dread. Please, I made mistakes, but I was trying to be better. Be better? Another voice cut through, cruel and mockingly sweet. You're just like them. You'll always be the same. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted violently, jerking her off balance. The fog thickened, tightening its grip. Mommy! Lily screamed, and Sarah turned, panic propelling her. A shadow lunged toward Lily, its claw-like hand reaching out. The little girl stumbled back, eyes wide with fear. No! Sarah shouted, lunging forward, a surge of adrenaline coursing through her. She gripped Lily, yanking her against her side, feeling their bond pulse with raw energy. The shadows recoiled, momentarily fading back, but not for long. You can't protect her forever, a whisper taunted. You have to face the truth. What truth? Sarah cried, desperation clawing at her throat as if in answer. A mirror appeared in the fog, a portal to her past. Images flashed violently. Her in her old life, surrounded by the people she had once loved yet abandoned. Each scene played like a haunting reel, the laughter replaced by screams of anguish and regret. Let us go, Sarah pleaded. This isn't fair. But it's what you deserve, isn't it? They echoed softly, voices melding into one, suffocating her with guilt. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the mirror, enveloping them again. Sarah fought against the urge to look, fear gripping her. But behind her, shadows converged, pushing her closer to the brightness suffocating her thoughts. Mommy! Lily's voice carved through the chaos, sharp and clear. In that instant, Sarah met her daughter's terrified gaze, a lifeline amidst the storm. They're lying. They're trying to confuse us. Sarah yelled, her anger swelling. The light shimmered, inviting. If she could just reach it, but would she step into the light and face what lay beyond? Or would the darkness reclaim her, dragging Lily down with her? As the shadows thrashed and swirled around them, blocking the exit, Sarah's resolve solidified. With a fierce cry, Sarah drew Lily into the heart of the light. But in that instant, a chilling laugh echoed, ominous and close. You can never escape, and as the warmth wrapped around them, Sarah felt the grip of her past tightening, threatening to pull her back. Was there truly a way out, or would her moment of resolve seal their fate forever? The blinding light enveloped Sarah and Lily, wrapping them in warmth that felt more electric than comforting. They pushed forward, heartbeats thundering in unison, and for an instant, the world cracked open like an egg, heavy darkness spilling through the seams. Where are we? Lily's voice, small yet insistent, broke Sarah's focus. She turned to her daughter, eyes wide with fear and determination. I don't know, sweetheart, but we're going to be okay. But doubt clawed at Sarah's insides. Just moments ago, the shadows had clawed at their heels, threatening to snatch them into eternal darkness. Now, surrounded by the soft glow of light, she could feel the weight of the whispers ebbing away. Were they really safe, or was this another cruel trick? As they stepped forward, caution intermingled with hope. The fog around them began to recede, revealing silhouettes that flickered with an intensity that made Sarah's heart sink. Familiar faces loomed in the shadows as memories intertwined, the love, the pain, the regrets piercing through her like 1,000 arrows. Mommy, they're here, Lily whispered, her small fingers trembling in Sarah's grip. A sob caught in Sarah's throat as she recognized the figures, trapped between existence and eternity, her lost friends, her family estranged by betrayal. They wore expressions of longing and sadness that echoed Sarah's own guilty heart. I'm sorry, she breathed into the air, a whispered prayer heavy with expectancy. You must face what you've hidden, one of the figures urged, eyes pleading. Release us. Fear pooled deep in Sarah's chest. I can't, she gasped, managing to hold onto Lily as despair threatened to envelop them. But the words rang hollow, a barrier she desperately tried to uphold. With a violent shake, the world shifted again. The figures took a menacing step closer as the light began to flicker, shadows growing angry and restless around the edges of their sanctuary. You cannot hold on to her, they rasped, voices mingling into a cacophony of disapproval. You must let go. No, Sarah roared, her voice raw and visceral. Instinct surged within her. I refuse to lose her. I won't let you take her. The shadows quaked, thundering beneath their feet, revealing the truth buried deep within her heart, the very essence of her past that was screaming for acknowledgement and acceptance. She was reminded of all she had lost, of the hurt she had caused, and the darkness that had consumed her for too long. But she had made a choice. Mommy, Lily cried, her eyes reflecting a tempest of terror and trust. Help them. Tremors of uncertainty rumbled through Sarah, but she held her daughter's gaze, the anchor she desperately needed. You think helping them will save us? She shouted into the swirling chaos. But deep down, something flickered, a realization. Facing her pain became an ignited force beneath the surface, and the fears that loomed over her began to reshape as shards of regret transformed into echoes of redemption. I see you, she called, voice breaking yet firm. You are part of me, and I can't run anymore. I need you to know. I'm sorry. Her voice emanated like a beacon, glancing back at the faces hovering in despair. But suddenly, they didn't appear so threatening as the shadows shifted, melding into the brilliance pulsating around them. Warmth washed over Sarah like healing rain. Each confession broke the chains holding her captive, and gradually, the shadows began to retreat, whispering softer, more soothing truths. A realization dawned. Letting go did not mean abandoning. It meant embracing the truth, the parts of herself she had locked away one by one. The faces softened, shifting from torment to understanding. With newfound clarity, Sarah took a step closer, feeling the warmth of the light urging her forward. I accept you, all of you, and I will not let the past dictate our future. The air thrummed as the figures surged towards the light, merging into it, lightening the atmosphere as if rediscovering the meaning of freedom. As clarity enveloped Sarah, she felt their pain echoing in her soul, a promise, forged from grief, anger, and ultimately love. Mommy? Lily asked, eyes wide with awe as they watched the energy swirl and collide into one shimmering pool of clarity. It's okay, Sarah whispered, squeezing Lily's hand tighter. We're safe. In that moment, as the last of the shadows retreated, the world shimmered, a pathway opening before them, carved from memories turned to laughter. Let us go, sweetheart, Sarah said softly, conviction invigorating her footsteps as she journeyed forward with Lily beside her. The air grew lighter, and the heaviness faded as they stepped into a world shimmering with hope, the dark behind them. A shadow now just a memory. Sarah inhaled deeply, embracing a feeling of freedom, sewing back together the pieces of her heart. As they emerged into the warm light of dawn, the sun rising on a new day, Sarah turned to Lily, radiating pure love. We faced our darkness, together. Now we head towards the light. With hands entwined, they walked forward, hearts beat in sync, a mother and daughter, forever bound in strength, love, and unwavering resolve. And so the journey continued, not just towards a brighter future, but toward the promise of healing, both for them and the spirits of those finally at peace. Everyone's still with us. You need to subscribe now for the next exclusive stories that might just break open your heart. Smash the like button now to fuel the algorithm and keep our community thriving. Now, I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voices matter the most. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how hope can triumph over darkness. Let us keep this journey going together.